Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Plugged-In webinar series. And thank you for attending today's Questline Digital webinar, How to Build Customer Trust with Outage Communications. My name is Maureen Murky, and I'm the technical producer and host for today's webinar. At Questline Digital, we're focused on bringing value to energy providers by improving the customer experience and achieving program goals. Before we begin, we want to cover just a few housekeeping items with you. So first, we love an engaged audience. If you have any questions during the webcast, we encourage you to submit them through the Q&A section, which is located at the lower right of the presentation window. Don't be shy, our presenters love questions. We'll try to answer all of your questions during the webcast, but if a more in-depth answer is needed or we run out of time, we'll answer them later via email. We also have the attendee chat open, so please feel free to use this function to chat with other attendees about what we're talking about in the presentation, ask any questions, or just to network. To get us started, I would love if you could all just go ahead and drop in the chat where you're tuning in from. I am live from Columbus, Ohio. We will also be conducting poll questions throughout the presentation, and we hope that you'll join the fun and participate. The polls will help all of us discover some valuable insights and key takeaways on today's topic. To view those poll results, you can access the polls tab to the left of your screen. Habla usted español? Parlez-vous français? English not your native language? Check out our closed captioning feature for more options. We have 12 languages available. Next, we want to ensure your webinar experience is as seamless as possible. Since some networks may cause slides to advance more slowly than others, we recommend logging off of your VPN. If your slides do fall behind, simply press F5 to refresh the page. If you're a Mac user, use Command-R. It's that easy. Finally, look for a follow-up email in your inbox this week. You'll receive the PowerPoint presentation and a playback link to the webinar recording. Now, let me introduce our presenters for today. Nina Cummins has over 20 years of extensive marketing experience with a focus in omnichannel marketing, advertising, digital sales, and media planning, with the ability to adapt and learn new industries. At Questline Digital, the Senior Director of Key Accounts, responsible for clients including Con Edison, Entergy, and Duquesne Light Company. Nina has focused on digital marketing, branding, and content creation for many industry verticals, including utility, consumer packaged goods, healthcare, and retail. Outside of work, she serves on a board for a rare genetic disorder, enjoys time with her 2 sons, and traveling as much as possible. John Dunham is a dynamic and results-driven senior leader with over 20 years of experience in the customer experience software industry. At his current role at IntelePeer, John runs the go-to market for the utility sector. He also works on transforming enterprise customer experience through communication automation powered by generative AI. John lives in Columbus, Ohio with his wife and 2 dogs and holds a bachelor's degree in business from Ohio University. Now, in today's webinar, we have a fun program lined up for you. We're going to hear from Nina and John about all things outage communications, including best practices and what communications to share before, during, and after an outage. The presentation will be filled with helpful examples, templates, and at the end, we'll even have a chance for you to engage with an outage example of our own. We'll then end with a 10 or 15-minute Q&A discussion to learn more. Before I pass it off to Nina and John to get us started, I would like to begin today's discussion with a poll question. So I'm going to move that ahead, and I will go ahead and launch out that poll for you. Our question here is, which way do you prefer to get outage updates? I know that it's easy enough to kind of forget that we're all utility customers, so we like to kind of keep the customer's point of view in mind as we discuss outage communications today. So with that in mind, how do you as a customer prefer to get your outage updates? Go ahead and choose either voice, text, email, or social media. I'll give it just a second to let those results come on in. All right, I see a very large majority right now already. It looks like it's slowing down, so I'll go ahead and close out that poll. It has an astounding 93% with text. So I think that speaks a lot to the way that we like to get notifications nowadays. And I think that Nina and John are going to talk a lot about that today. So with that, I will pass it off to you both. Please take it away.
Thank you so much, Maureen. So when it comes to power outages and interruptions, a customer's ideal state for an outage is to never happen in the first place. While we all know this is an impossible goal to achieve, the customer really doesn't. This is why ongoing education and expectation setting are crucial for a great customer experience. If you don't establish realistic outcome, the customer will fill in the blank with their own unrealistic expectations. 71% of utilities acknowledge that they are not doing enough to improve customer engagement. So what now? Based on that poll question, it sounds like we would want to text a little bit more when it comes to outage. Our goal today is to help position you, the utility, as the trusted partner to your customers. Sharing information and collecting feedback goes a long way in creating that relationship. We're going to show you ways to communicate, educate, respond, and partner with your customers to set expectations and build a relationship when things are not what the customer expects.
Thank you, Nina. Thanks, everybody, for your time today. The first thing we want to start with here are pain points. Outages are challenging, right? Whether they're planned or unplanned, a lot of things are out of your control. And there's really 2 points of view that we like to highlight: the utility and what's kind of their focus when an outage strikes, and what's the customer experience like? What do the customer care about, right? When you look at those 2 points of view, on the utility side, you kind of are looking at what's it costing per call when an outage strikes? How many calls are coming into the contact center? Or how many SMSs? How do we handle this kind of spike in call volume? And what we found through our research is utilities, on average, spend more than $2.3 million per year on repeat contacts, and the average cost per call is almost $10. So obviously, on the utility side, you're thinking about how do I balance my costs and my investments, but also drive the best customer experience I can during an outage. And I think the careful balance is key. So when we talk about the customer, the customer is obviously caring about when is my service going to be restored? What's happening in my area? Is there a storm or something that could affect my family, or is it an emergency? Those are the things you're worried about. And I think you have to think about the customer's point of view. You need to look at, from a best practice perspective, how do you reach those customers, and how do you have that careful balance between managing your costs, managing your investment in technology, and then also managing that customer satisfaction and how they interact with your company. So talking a little bit more about best practices for outage communications, the key is transparency and being proactive. You want to remove jargon from your messages. You want to keep it clean and simple, and you want to own whatever's happening that caused that outage. You want to look at your preparedness. Do you have things prepared, like direct links and important resources and guides to help your customers when an outage strikes? You want to communicate clearly and concisely on the scope of the outage. What's really happening? The more detailed but very crisp information proactively is key to a good experience. And then you want to have a plan where you're informing customers before, during, and after an outage. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, which leads us to our next poll.
Awesome. I know you thought you saw the last of me already, but you haven't. I'm going to go ahead and launch our second poll for everybody. The question is, let me hit start polling. There we go. The question is, what part of your outage strategy has room for improvement? I know we just hit a little bit on some points of view and some best practices, and we're going to really dig deep into the before, during, and after strategy. But right now, when you think about your strategy, what do you think has room for improvement? Is it pre-event safety tips, during event updates, or a follow-up after an outage? I'll give you guys just a second to put those answers in. As a reminder, send in your questions for Q&A at any point in time. You can either do it in the chat function or in the Q&A specific function. So just throwing that out there. All right, it looks like responses are slowing down. I'll go ahead and close out that poll. Thank you, everybody, for joining in these. It's really fun to see how you respond. So it looks like majority are saying that the room for improvement is the during event updates, followed pretty close behind by follow-up after an outage. So hopefully John and Nina are going to inspire you today. So I'll just let them take it away from here.
Thank you again. Okay, so let's start with before an outage, where people feel like they need a little bit of help. As John mentioned before, there are obvious pain points for both the customer and the utility during an outage, whether it's planned or unplanned. So we're here to show you how you can solve both yours and your customers' pain points with a single solution. We sillily dubbed this the 3 A's to an outage solution. And they are aware, action, and affirm. These also align to what we call pre, during, and post-storm communications. First, before an outage, you need to make sure that the customer is aware of what's going on, whether this is a planned outage or an unplanned outage. The utility will need to share accurate, timely, and transparent information. The solution consists of a communication strategy that will align over all methods of communications, even as far as to train AI to answer all of your customers' questions that they could have specific to your utility, that outage, your particular resources, etc. But right now I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. John's going to cover all that fun stuff later. So to ensure that the customers are properly prepared, proactive outage communications is vital throughout the journey, not just before. To prepare for outages, provide safety reminders as well as why the outage is occurring. For unplanned outages, make sure to include safety messages around potential downlines, outage alert programs, sign up for text, sign up for other types of alerts, alert services, and social media updates, as well as your outage maps and your other outage solutions. These communications should be in all mediums that you have possible, including social, text, email, with that strategy tying everything together. Last, but certainly not least, make sure your proactive communications include your internal utility employees, making sure that everyone is fully informed of what is occurring, especially your call and your contact center agents, so that they can answer the questions properly as they come in. So keeping timely updates is very important. This slide demonstrates a lot of what I was just discussing in the previous slide. Before an outage, you need to focus on 3 main areas. Outage alerts to encourage people to sign up for multi-channel alert campaigns. Outage resources, what customers need to know during the outage and what you have available to them. And safety tips, especially as it relates to seasonality. So here is an example, a case study that we had that I wanted to share with you. Questline Digital enabled customers to take their power back. This is a powerful creative campaign was designed to inspire customers to sign up to receive text alerts and not feel powerless during an outage. The target was customers who were not currently enrolled in text alerts, having a clear call to action to drive customers to my account and sign up for real-time notifications. At that same time, this program promoted other digital tools that we just spoke about, such as Outage Center and EE programs. The results, the simple yet effective campaign connected with customers by speaking to the peace of mind they could give themselves. The success rate was with a 26% open rate and over 7,800 clicks to sign up for outage text alerts. John, off to you.
All right, there we go. How to get off mute. Thanks, Nina. So what happens during an outage? And I think everyone has, whether you're a customer or a utility, how you react to the outage is crucial, whether it's planned or unplanned, right? We typically think of unplanned, but the key during an outage is urgency and transparency. So again, how you react quickly. Those that are enrolled in SMS alerts, obviously getting that message out. Is your SMS strategy, if that's just one medium, is it smart, or is it just notifying, right? Can the customer actually engage with the SMS experience? Is something you want to look at. We'll talk more about some innovations around that. But when you think about becoming urgent and transparent, it comes down to planning properly. So a couple examples you can see off to the right. For PSEG, you can see an asset from Questline there that talks about how to prepare for an outage, how to respond, how to enroll in alerting. Another great asset that I know Questline has helped customers with is an actual outage recovery guide. And having those assets ahead of time, having a plan, having a strong communication plan, as well as a strong innovation plan with technology and hitting the different channels, voice, SMS, digital, having those things in place allow you to be urgent and transparent. So again, it all comes down to that plan that you have. So during an outage, kind of what Nina said, how you react, first thing you want to do, where is the impacted area? So you want to provide as much detail as you can on what's happened in that area, the extent of the outage, the number of customers impacted, and understanding that, having clear communication. Number two, hey, power restoration efforts are underway. Confirming and affirming that things are underway are key to a good experience for your customer, and them understanding that and having peace of mind that things are being resolved, that you're on it, is crucial to them feeling confident things are going to be resolved in a timely manner. Also putting, an expectation or mean time of restoration is also great if you're able to do that. Number three is, what was the reason for the outage? In our research and experience, owning the outage and being clear and concise on what caused it, whether it was, again, it could have been an act of God, it could have been a storm, it could have been whatever, a down power line, right? You want to own what happened so that the customers know, and everything is transparent, so they can trust your brand and trust you as a provider. And then last but not least, that power has been restored. So you want to have a full feedback loop that, hey, power has been restored. Thank you for your patience. Be sure to include your contact information to make sure you're enrolled in our different channels in case this ever were to happen again. Want to give another case study. This is for a very large utility. This is one of the largest utilities that I was blessed to work with on a transformation project. This utility serves more than 10 million customers through 6 fully regulated transmission and distribution utilities. Really, their challenge was they were on antiquated systems. So from a telephony perspective, they wanted to transform. They wanted to become digital first. And they also had an experience where they had a serious fine from the governing agencies, from the Public Service Commission, where when they had an outage, they were actually busying out phone calls and they couldn't handle the volume coming in, which is something that drives a regulatory fine. So another thing you need to consider is, can your systems, your telephony environment, your digital channels, can they handle the load of your customer base that might happen? And how do you respond to that? And how do you ensure that calls are getting through? So we've got some really interesting innovations that we can talk about later around how to make sure you comply. And then kind of just off to the right there, this customer really wanted a digital first experience. They wanted a true omni-channel, so the ability to reach customers where they are at their preferred channel, whether it's SMS, social, voice, or all of the above. They also wanted something that was simple and elegant. They wanted complexity, but they wanted it to be an elegant experience, a simple experience to manage. But under the hood, there was a lot of complexity that we had to care for. And then last but not least, you'll hear a lot about AI. How do you leverage AI, ChatGPT? How do you drive and leverage these new AI solutions to help offset or triage an outage experience where maybe they don't need a live agent at all? So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well later in the presentation. One quick example, and we're going to give you a real SMS experience during this presentation a little bit later, where you can actually engage with an experience live. But just one particular channel that you all said in the poll in the beginning, SMS was your preferred channel. We kind of look at it in 3 buckets. You got to get people enrolled in the SMS. Often the challenge is actually getting your customers to enroll. So we've got some great solutions, again, between Questline's communication strategy and IntelePeer's innovation with technology. There's a lot you can do to drive enrollment and drive up those numbers so that you've got majority of your customer base enrolled in something like SMS. And then obviously, how does the SMS experience work in real time during an outage? And then obviously, the last but not least piece is, does your SMS platform or a solution you use during an outage provides you insights and data that you can act on, real reporting so that you can improve the experience ongoing. Another part that we like to promote is actually a CSAT survey. So after everything's been closed out, you can send another SMS that actually polls the customer on their experience and measuring CSAT. And then after an outage here, we pull this off. Sorry.
That's okay.
I'm going to hand that actually to you, Anita. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Okay.
So finally, the third A in outage would be Affirm. As John talked about in the beginning and talked about just then, reinforcing the importance of different ways to communicate. But the outage has effects on both customers and the utilities. So after the outage, customers need transparent outreach to build trust and credibility with their utility. You want to communicate with the impacted customers on outage details, such as what may have caused the outage, how it was fixed, how many customers were impacted, and potentially how many line workers were deployed, even detailing out if other companies were called in, as we've seen in a lot of big storms. That helps the case on all the work that we've done to actually get this result as quickly as possible. Reinforce outage resources. Customers are more likely to sign up for resources after they were just impacted by the storm or an outage, while it is fresh in their minds instead of on a blue sky day that they just aren't thinking about it and it isn't, top of mind. So remind them to sign up for the text alerts to be prepared for the next potential outage. And then finally, one of the things that we've been looking into a lot lately is gaining customer insights via a post-outage survey. And that could be SMS, email, outbound voice, what have you. But to gain those customer insights, which really helps then the utilities point of view, which is after the outage, you want to focus on reevaluating your communication strategy. This will require enhanced visibility into customers who have been affected by the outage. This would require real-time customer information associated with the outage journey, what channels customers are using, and what is the opinion of how we are communicating and what we could have done better. In just a few minutes, like we talked about before, John is going to discuss data integrations and how this helps compile all the information that you need in this Affirm stage. So similar to aware and action, in the Affirm stage, we have the same type of journey. These types of messages include thank you messages, thank you for your patience, thank you for being a customer, etc. Outage alerts, sign up reminders. As I just mentioned, they're more likely to sign up at that time than they are in blue sky. And then a reminder of the safety tips and the other resources that you have available to them that they can take their time and view and research when they're not in the pressure of a storm. Now I'm going to turn it back to Maureen.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Fantastic takeaways there. I love those templates. I love those case studies you shared. I think that everyone's going to find those helpful. So thank you so much. Before we get into that data and the example that you both mentioned, let us do our third poll question here. I'm going to hit start polling. The question is, after talking through all of these outage strategy components, what areas more specifically do you feel your utility has room for improvement? Maybe it's planning outage preparation communications, providing outage safety reminders and tips, or maybe it's about being transparent in your outage communications, or communicating outage impact details with customers, or modernizing the SMS enrollment experience. You can go ahead and choose as many of these options as you'd like. I know in the chat that an all of the above option would have been helpful in question 2, so I did add that in here for question 3. So choose any that you want or choose all of the above. And thank you for that note in the chat. So I'll just let you guys kind of work through these answers really quick, and we'll just take a breather here. I'll remind everyone again while these answers are coming in, send in our questions. We're getting close to the Q&A time, so send those in. All right, so things are slowing down a bit. They're moving a bit here. I'll respond. Okay, here we go. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and close the poll out. Thank you, everybody, for your responses. It looks like we're pretty much choosing modernizing the SMS enrollment experience as the top contender, but it's followed pretty much by a tie with communicating outage impact details with customers and then being transparent in outage communication. So a lot of different areas there. Again, hopefully the notes that John and Nina have shared today will be helpful in inspiring your own strategy. So I will go ahead now and pass it off to John for more about the data integration.
All right. Well, first of all, I just want to comment on all the big shout outs and everybody from across the country. It's really exciting that y'all are here, and thanks again for being here. And I have to say, Scott's calling in from Kauai, Hawaii, one of my favorite places I've ever been to. So you're lucky, Scott. All right. So when I talk about data integration, innovation, I get really excited. So, and the reason this slide looks complex is because what we try to do is look at each situation. So each customer has a different level of where they're at in their technology journey. At IntelePeer, we're typically looking at two types of workers, if you will. You've got your call center agents, right? And a call center agent might be on an old platform, an old Avaya, you name it. They might have something that's old and antiquated, or you might be really modern. You might have just made that journey to something that's cloud and state of the art to run your contact center. On the other side, you've got what we call knowledge workers or smart workers that might be using a Zoom, a Microsoft Teams, Vonage, RingCentral. So these are kind of your two communication platforms that you use to run your business, right? What we like to talk about with data is how is your outage strategy and solutions, how are you making them smart and intelligent? Is your SMS experience data dipping into applications to make it a more unique experience? Is the SMS experience smart? In other words, can I interact with the SMS? Can I actually respond? Or is it true omni-channel? We talk about omni-channel. From an SMS experience, if I'm having an outage, right, I'm a customer and I need to talk to somebody, right from that SMS experience, you should be able to trigger a phone call to the call center right from there. That's an innovation, pretty simple. It's something that we do all the time here at IntelePeer, but it may be something you could add to your arsenal. Maybe you just have basic notifications today. The bottom line is it really doesn't matter where you're at in your technology journey. Technology in this space around what we call communication automation has come so far that these automations can be delivered across any platform. There's no reason you couldn't innovate today and have those conversations, even if you feel like you're antiquated, even if you feel like you're on an old, living in the past. The technology is almost leapfrogged where you don't have to forklift upgrade something that's old. You can modernize it really simply with some smart automations and create an awesome experience for your customers without a huge forklift upgrade. So back to data. Again, I talked about how do you get to the data? Well, it requires integrations. You might have 20 different applications we have to integrate to pull data to make a smart experience. The more data you have, the more you can act on. So when Nina talked about how do you handle things after an outage and have a full feedback loop, doing a post-mortem and having those data details, how many calls came into the contact center? How many call spikes did we have? How many SMSs? Were the SMSs effective? Measuring all those things so you can continually improve is key. And we feel like having your fingertips on the right data, fully integrated to your environment, and having insights and reporting that makes sense to you is key and crucial, because if you don't have that visibility, it's hard to make change. It's hard to improve. So that's a little bit on data. What we want to do is actually do a live experience here with you. So who's with me? If you guys can pull out your cell phones right now, we're taking the Steve Jobs risk here on a live demo. But if you guys could play along with us here, pull out your phone and queue up a fresh text message. And in your to line, what you're going to do is type in 954 541 8468. Once you have that queued up, in your message, go ahead and text the word outage. You can either spell it with a capital O or a lowercase o. All right, Nina, you with me? Maureen? All right.
I'm with you. Just hit send.
Yeah, and hit send. Sorry. So assuming you hit send, you should be getting a message back. Is everyone getting a message, I hope, back from the platform? So the first thing it asks for is your zip code. However, what you'll see in this experience, guys, if you read below in the message, you can see additionally, if you would like to speak to a live agent for further assistance, simply reply back with the word agent. If you type in the word agent, you're going to get a phone call that'll connect you right to the call center and put you in queue. So again, that is a true omni-channel. Pivoting from SMS to voice and back and forth is a real true omni-channel two-way experience. But maybe a few of you can just enter your zip codes for me. I'm going to do 43065. And the experience will go on, right? It'll talk about, we're aware of the power outage. Rest assured, we're working on it. Would you like us to send status updates? Simply reply yes or no. So go ahead and click yes. And by the way, if you're interacting with this, we're going to remove your phone number from this. Don't worry, you're not going to get spammed or anything. Go ahead and click yes for updates. And what we do here is it'll just, once you're enrolled in that, we have a thing called a platform we call list management, and you can manage all your customers that are enrolled in SMS really easy, simply in our platform. So I recommend, again, whatever platform you're using for this, really take a hard look at it, because there's so much innovation that can be done around these SMS experiences. Great. So Maureen, we kind of went through this. I know hopefully you guys are having fun interacting with this SMS experience here, but I do want to say we're going to actually send you a survey through the same SMS if you guys interacted in about an hour, just so you can see the full loop. So if you were using this SMS to do your outage, obviously you can send a CSAT survey. So you're going to get one from us on how you like the webinar in about an hour. So
awesome.
Pretty
John,
cool.
I really like how you get a notification that says that, hey, we want to give you an update that it's going to be resolved within 15 minutes. Hang tight. That's a pretty cool addition there. I like that.
Awesome. Yeah, Maureen and Nina, you kind of see the difference where it's interactive versus just a notification. This is it. You want to try to say, is it omni-channel? Is it interactive? And the technology's there, guys. If you're not doing that today, it's something to look at.
Absolutely.
Well, the last thing, none of this works without a really good communication plan. And I know, regardless of whether it's Questline or whatever you're doing, to have a strong communication plan paired with a strong innovation strategy, I think is key. So with that, Maureen, hand it back to you.
Awesome. I think, Nina, you want to talk about a little bit more of the benefits, and then we'll get into Q&A?
Yeah, we have circled close to the end. I hope you guys all enjoyed that interactive experience and get an idea of what you can actually do to communicate better with your customers during a time that, that's an ease of mind as you're, you might be panicking if there are health issues associated with it, if you're anything along those lines. So just hope you guys enjoyed that. All right, to kind of close this out, just as we set up this webinar to position you as the trusted partner to your customers, we hope that today we have provided information that helps IntelePeer and Questline Digital become your trusted partner in terms of how to communicate, during giving you clues and tips and tricks and advice on how to communicate. There's so many benefits to a successful outage strategy, as demonstrated in the short time that we've had together. So basically, before a storm in the aware, help level set the expectations for your customers. During a storm in the action phase, help minimize call center volume during the height of an outage by communicating them with your customers in other ways. Finally, in the Affirm, after the storm, post-storm, build trust and positive perception to increase customer satisfaction. Weather can be unpredictable. How you respond really doesn't need to be. And now I'm gonna pass it over to Maureen for Q&A.
Awesome. We actually have a lot coming in here. I think a lot are actually related to the demo, John. So I'm going to start with those ones. All right. So first, it asks, what if you only have one citywide zip code? How would you identify the area for the outage?
Okay. It's a good question. I saw that. I think it could. So it's really maybe a question back in a way. So how do you delineate? How do you subdivide? I guess from that zip code, is there another unique identifier we could use? Right? Maybe it's not zip code. Maybe you have your customers in the database by the last 4 digits of their phone number, and through that you know where they are. Some way we would need to know, or have some way to ask the customer where they're located. We could even do a free text if you want to get really granular, like spell the city you're in, spell the subdivision you're in. That the answers can be dynamic in that survey. It doesn't have to be zip code. We just saw most commonly zip code. So good question. I'd love to unpack that with you, Adrian, maybe as a next step. And then Kelly, actually, you want to ask the question so everyone hears it?
Yes, thank you. Yes, Kelly asked, I put in a Canadian postal code and I got a please bear with us message. Is that what happens if the system doesn't recognize the postal code? Where is it pulling the outage data from?
Okay. Awesome question, Kelly. So yeah, when we designed the demo, it's interesting. We just designed it for the continental U.S. So it just had, I think we loaded in every zip code that's continental U.S. So we do have international coverage though. So if you wanted to do Canadian postal codes, that's not a problem. We could do that, but I apologize. You got to please bear with us message. So, but again, we actually have databases that we work with. I forget the exact name of the Canadian service that provides that, but we're getting up to date postal or zip codes and data feeds from various sources. We can actually source that ourselves, or you can provide an access to your CRM or your customer database, and we can simply load the postal codes that way. So if you think about what we're doing, we're data dipping into, like, let's say it's salesforce.com, SAP, you name whatever customer relationship product you're using. IntelePeer has a direct API access and integration. So when they punch in a postal code, we're data dipping, or they punch in any sort of data, we can data dip in and out and make that a smart experience. So hopefully that helped answer that.
Awesome. Thank you, John. And this one you may have kind of answered a little, but I'll see if there's anything else you want to say with this. But who is typically on the back end populating the updates? How does it work? Anything else you want to say on that?
Yeah, I'd love to. Well, we're going to not have time for me to do a live demo. Lena, hopefully I pronounced your name correctly. But we have a portal where you can manage this very easy. Again, it's an administrative portal that's real easy to interact with. So you're building these prompts. We call it smart flows. And it's so easy, even Nina was able to build her own smart flow last time I was with her. So it's a real easy UI, and you can actually do a lot of testing, and you can publish as many of these SMS experiences as you want using our flow builder, and then basically whatever you want to put in production, you have full control over that. Or if you don't want full control, Questline is happy to manage that on your behalf or help with best practices.
Awesome. And then John was asking if the demo will be available after the webinar. Words are very hard right now. He said that he would like to show it to some of his colleagues.
That's awesome, John. Absolutely. I will. The first thing I wanted to do when you guys interacted with it is ensure that you knew we weren't going to text you beyond the survey. But John, we'll leave it up. I'll leave it up. And you can, with the slide deck, it has the instructions. With that, I'll leave that survey up for another 2 weeks, John, if you want to keep interacting with it. And I'll also offer you, after the call, if you want to meet, we could build something more customized for you. Again, free of charge and everything, just to have something more unique for your colleagues to demo to. So happy to do that as well.
Thanks, John. Kelly has a follow-up. She asked, does it only read the zip code, postal code data, or can we customize it so it's pulling by transformer number, address, etc.?
You name it. That's the beauty of it. So we're really going to design a strategy around what's best for you. As far as the technology, again, as long as we have a way to correlate the data to whatever you want to take action on, we can make that work. It's just simply how we ask for the data. So instead of asking for zip code, we ask for transformer number. We're then data dipping, and we'll know as long as we can correlate what that means back to the customer. So in other words, transformer number 5 means that, this area, so that we're sending the right updates. That's all we need to care for there. But that's just all in how we design it.
Can I add something there?
Sure.
That not necessarily in an outage, but it may potentially in a load shed situation, utilizing by transformer and cross-referencing with zits or whatever other data you can provide can really help target what areas you need to ask people to kind of shut up everything that's unneeded for now, so we don't have to have an unplanned outage. So that actually led to a really good point. Yeah.
Really good point, Nina. And just one other quick one to add to that, Nina. You also typically what we see in the experience that you guys just went through there, I had a 9-digit phone number, right? Traditional. What we would likely try to do for each of you would have a short code. We call them short codes, and that's a 5-digit code. So you're not messaging that long of a number. But you could have a short code that's for customers that are impacted, and then you could have another short code experience for maybe your field technicians, right? And maybe they want to get updates at the transformer level at a different level. These can be customized. You can have different subsets of how that experience works. So just want to add that.
Awesome. Okay, thank you both. I have a question now for you. Based on a lot of the poll responses that we got today, it seems like everybody's kind of in different parts of the outage strategy of what they're working on at their utility. But for both of you, and Nina, I'll let you start because John, take a breather. You answered a lot of questions there. But jump in here, and I would like to know if the utility was looking to start on just one aspect, either before, during, or after, where would you say is most important for them to start their strategy?
I would actually go with during, because that's the most pressing time for a customer. Once you get your during strategy and organization down, I would then focus on pre, just to prepare people, and you'll be in much better shape with people being prepared. And then finally, I would end with the after, and just to close the loop and kind of ease the pain points for both you and the customer.
Awesome. John, do you agree or have any other thoughts on that?
I agree, but I'll just throw, I think, second to that, I think preparedness, right? And having your communication strategy nailed down is so crucial if you don't have one that's comprehensive. And I think in line with that is having your innovation or having your technology strategy in line with that. What do you want this experience to look like? If you could wave a magic wand, build that out for yourselves. The same thing with your communication strategy. I know Questline helps with a lot of customers. So I think the preparedness stage, is so key. Equal a close second to during the outage. So
awesome. And someone just sent in a question that was actually exactly what I was hoping to ask you too. So how much is too much communication to the customer? How do you balance that line between sharing all the information that's important, but not crossing the line to being annoying? So how much is too much to the customer?
I'm going to tell you that during a storm, when people are worried, there isn't too much, honestly. And you communicate in every way possible, similar to how, I'm sorry, I can't remember who said it, but the all of the above. I think just communicating with people in every way possible, as much as possible, especially in the during. I don't think there is too much. I wouldn't send them 20 types of messages prior to a storm or after a storm. I think you need to be very strategic in your communications there, but I would go with during. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's important that the technology supports. So in other words, if you want to make sure the technology works well, so it's not just spamming or sending too many updates. That's one thing. Just make sure that's nailed down. But I also agree, more is good, right, in an outage situation. And I don't think you can have enough of it. But I think, again, it comes down to that balance, how between SMS, voice, digital. I think, again, that comprehensive strategy across, so you're not overcooking it, but you're hitting all your channels, and more is good, right? So, agreed.
Awesome. Okay, thank you both. So unfortunately, we have come up on time here, so I'm going to have to close us out here. Thank you everybody for the questions, though. If there's any questions that you have that we didn't hit on or that you want to reach out to us after, please do so. The presentation deck here is available in handouts, and both Nina and John's emails are in the deck. And then we have our general email here as well that you can email, and we will pass off any questions to Nina or to John. So also thank you, Nina and John. Your insights today were fantastic. I thought this was an amazing discussion on just all things outage communications and really how to build up that trust with your customers. So thank you both for joining us today. As a reminder, again, the follow-up email will be sent to you shortly with those presentation materials and the playback link. And if you have any questions or just any feedback, you can also just shoot it via those emails that I mentioned. There's also going to be a brief survey at the end of the event. If you cannot close out your browser window just yet, we would really appreciate the feedback on how today's event went for you. Our next webinar will be next month on July 20th about educating customers about rate plans. Registration is open now on our website, so you can go ahead and register early and get that scheduled on your calendar. Until then, thank you again for attending, everyone, and have a fantastic day. Talk to you soon.